What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel and welcome to yet another college football playoff preview and prediction. The playoffs are here. It is almost time to kick this whole thing off. What a way to start 2024 on New Year's Day, and I have been clamoring for this matchup forever. I thought we were going to get it in a New Year's Six bowl game, maybe in the Fiesta Bowl, maybe the Cotton Bowl. The fact that we get it in a college football playoff semifinal, oh, makes it all that much sweeter. It's the Big 12 champs, the Texas Longhorns, my apologies, against the undefeated Pac-12 champions making their second college football playoff appearance. It's the Washington Huskies. We are going to dive on into everything Texas and Washington, Longhorns and Huskies from the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana here in a minute. But you guys know, but I have to say thank you for all the love and support the channel has seen as of late. It's just been absolutely insane to see the way that the channel has grown. And if you want to continue to see this channel grow as much as I do, hey, do anything you can to help interact with the channel, whether that's doing what you're doing now and watching my videos, subscribing, ringing the bell, that's the big thing, or simply liking, commenting, sharing. You guys are helping support what I do here on YouTube, and it just means so much to me that I have so many people that are supporting what I'm doing here on this platform. So thank you guys so much. But with all of that out with all of that gone and done and said and out of the way, let's dive on in to this college football playoff semifinal matchup between the Texas Longhorns and Washington Huskies. Again, I have been clamoring for this matchup forever. This was going to be a dynamic game, whether we got it in a college football playoff semifinal, whether we got it in a New Year's Six bowl game, or whether we got it in the Alamo Bowl, just as we did last year. As a reminder, Washington did win that game 27-20. This is going to be a much more highly anticipated game, and I think it's going to be, as good as that game was last year, a much better game here. Let's start by looking at the stats both these teams have put up, and starting out with the Texas offense, let's go through some playmakers, shall we? It all starts at the quarterback position with Quinn Ewers, 3,161 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Was battling a little bit of some injuries here and there. Malik Murphy definitely did play some significant time there for Quinn Ewers. I even believe started a game or two for him. And Quinn Ewers, sure, that touchdown number, okay, maybe not as high as some people would have liked, but he's got a ton of dynamic weapons to work with on the outside. It starts out with Xavier Worthy, 969 yards, 5 touchdowns. A.D. Mitchell was a huge transfer coming over from Georgia, 813 yards and 10 touchdowns for him. Jatavian Sanders, that tight end, has seen his role diminish from last year to this year, but is still a vital part to this offense. One could even say the X factor, 607 yards and 2 touchdowns for him. And then Jordan Whittington right there as well as a really good, solid third option in the wide receiver room. Well, I should say fourth option in the pass catching room. But when you take a look at this defense or at this offensive backfield as well, again, not having Jonathan Brooks in this game is going to hurt. He's a dynamic rusher that averages 6.1 yards per carry, was a 1,000-yard rusher. Losing him is just not good. It is not what you wanted to see at all. However, C.J. Baxter, very, very talented player, has stepped in for him. 595 yards and 4 touchdowns. Jaden Blue has come in and played some minutes as well. 339 yards and 2 touchdowns on 56 carries. He's averaging 6.1 yards per carry. That's exactly what Jonathan Brooks has averaged this season. So Baxter and Blue. Obviously, Baxter is that feature back, but even a guy like Jaden Blue coming in, he's going to have to put in some good minutes here as well. But this is a Texas offense that is playing as hot as anyone across the entire country. However, there are a little bit of problems. They can be turnover prone at times. The offensive line is not the best in pass protection at times, and the third down offense is not the best at times. Now, again, all those things are wildly inconsistent with this Texas offense. However, all those same categories are very consistent with this Texas defense. Again, this Texas defense was not necessarily playing great to start out this season. However, as it has gone along and as this season has progressed, this is a defense that as a whole has gotten progressively better, and it's playing its best football right now. They're one of the best third down defenses in the entire country, 26.5% allowed. That's all they allow. They forced 23 turnovers on the season, including 16 picks, along with 50 passes defended from guys in the secondary, such as Jaron Thompson. You take a look at other guys like Jahdae Barron, Michael Taffy, and others there as well. But when you take a look at the sack production as well, I mean, this is the team that can pass rush with the best of them. 32 sacks on the year. And again, doesn't really come from one guy. You have 1, 2, 3 guys that have at least 5 sacks this year. That is Anthony Hill in the linebacking room, Ethan Burke, your leading sack man with 5.5 sacks, and then Byron Murphy there as well. But the one weakness of this Texas defense, and they're also one of the best rush defenses in the entire country. However, when you take a look at one weakness of this Texas defense, it is this pass defense, which doesn't bode well when you face a Washington offense led by Michael Penix and one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. Michael Penix finished second in Heisman voting, only behind that of LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels. He had 4,218 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 9 picks. Now, turnovers at times definitely were a little bit of a problem for Penix, and it feels like that ever since those first 6 games, Penix hasn't necessarily been playing his best. He was the Heisman frontrunner. There was going to be no doubt that if Penix continued to play like he had been playing, Washington was going to have themselves a Heisman winner in Michael Penix. Now, Michael Penix played well enough down the stretch, obviously, to have this team win a Pac-12 title, go undefeated, get the 2 seed in the college football playoff. But Michael Penix may even need to crank it up a little bit here in this game. However, that being said, he's got a lot of weapons around him to work with. Rome Dunze is one of the best wide receivers in the country, period. 1,428 yards, 13 touchdowns. Jalen Polk, it has exactly 1,000 yards receiving this year with 8 touchdowns, including a long of 92. Yeah, he had a 92-yard touchdown this year, and you got some other weapons back there as well that kind of get buried under those top 2. Jalen McMillan, Gio Bernard, and the tight end Jack Westover is there as well. A really good third down offense. Again, they can have trouble with turnovers at times, but it's also an offensive line that does a really good job in pass protection. They give Penix all the time he needs to throw. And then a guy I haven't mentioned that I think is going to be a little bit of an X factor here in this game in Dylan Johnson. His defenses have thrown more and more things at Michael Penix. And at this pass game, Dylan Johnson has really been able to get going. He has 1,113 yards and 14 touchdowns. And especially throughout these last 5 games, he's really found his role, and they've started to utilize him with great effectiveness. Now, this Washington defense, that's definitely where the question mark comes in here. And if you're a Husky fan, you can definitely attest to what I'm about to say here. But this is a Husky defense that definitely gives this very passionate Washington fan base heart attacks at times. However, it continues to grind out the games, and it continues to find ways to win, whether that's with costly turnovers, or I guess not in Washington's defense terms costly, but timely turnovers. Again, not a team that forces a ton of turnovers, realistically speaking, at least in like normal gameplay. But when you get in the final 5 minutes, you get in the final corner, closing stages of a half, any clutch situation like that, this is a Washington defense that comes up huge. And I think they really started to find some things that worked really well for them in that Pac-12 championship game there against Oregon. I think this is a defense that knows how to attack this Texas offense. I think it's a defense that knows what it's going up against. Now, the pass defense, much like Texas, is going to be very shaky. And we'll talk about what both of these pass defenses being is going to lead to here in this game. Washington has a solid enough rush defense for it to matter, especially that Texas doesn't have Jonathan Brooks. But the pass defense, while it has some good defensive backs here, it really is going to need to step up and force some takeaways like they have in timely manners all season long. Guys, this all leads me into my keys to the game, what I call my what to watch for. It's some things I think you should keep an eye on while you're paying attention here to this game. And we'll start with the Texas Longhorns. The third-ranked team in the country has to make C.J. Baxter a factor. And not even the offensive play calling has to make C.J. Baxter a factor. C.J. Baxter himself has to make himself a factor with the look. We know that this pass game will work, and we'll talk more about the pass game here later. But when we take a look at this run game, again, not having Jonathan Brooks here is huge. It is massive. Obviously, if Texas had Jonathan Brooks here, it'd be a much different story. I would have been saying a lot of different things. But because Jonathan Brooks is not going to be playing, you're going to have to rely on guys like C.J. Baxter, Jaden Blue, some of these younger guys. Not saying that Jonathan Brooks isn't young. He's another young stud that's really good. But Baxter and Blue have to make themselves a factor. And C.J. Baxter may very well need 5 yards per carry against this Washington defensive front that has really started to find things that have worked out for them. I mentioned the pass game just a little bit ago. Let's talk about it. Ewers in the pass game is going to work wonders if this offensive line can give him the protection that he needs. Again, Washington is not a team that generates a ton of sacks. However, especially in that Pac-12 championship game, they've really started to find some blitz packages and some formations that get the offense on their heels and that get these Washington playmakers in the backfield, such as ZTF. You take a look at Edefon Ulo Fascio. I probably said that last name wrong. I apologize profusely. Second leading tackler, really good linebacker here on this team. And even a guy like Braylon Trice that has 5 sacks so far this season. If the offensive line doesn't give Quinn Ewers the time he needs to be able to hit some deep shots, get time in the pocket to let routes develop, and this is the Washington defensive front that, again, doesn't really get a whole lot of pressure back to the quarterbacks, get pressure to Ewers, could be a long day here for this Texas offense, especially if they're getting back in the backfield to stop this run game as well. That's when you're really going to need this offensive line and Quinn Ewers to step up. But in terms of the defense for Texas, we know the run game is going to be fine. Keying in on Dylan Johnson, I don't think is that going to be as big of a problem for Texas as trying to defend this pass game is. When Penix and company are at their best, they're just an impossible offense to stop. At least for Texas, you can bend a little bit here, but you can't break. You cannot allow the big plays down the field. You have to keep giving your defense a chance to force some turnovers like they've done all season long. Now, moving on over to what to watch for the Washington Huskies. The pass game is going to work. Again, that's the one weak point of this Texas defense is this secondary. Penix and company need to attack the secondary. Now, you don't have to hit deep ball after deep ball after deep ball, although, let's be honest, we're not going to be surprised if that's exactly what Michael Penix and company are going to do and just hit the deep pass after the deep pass after deep pass. But you need to have this Texas secondary reeling. You need to have Texas on their heels. You need to get this Texas secondary fearful of what Washington can do here. But you also need to mix in Dylan Johnson. I think he is the X factor in this game. If Dylan Johnson runs for over 100 yards, 4 yards per carry, couple touchdowns, I think Washington has a good shot to win this game. But if this is the Texas defensive front that is going to stifle Johnson and make Washington one-dimensional with the pass game, first of all, that's Washington's strength. I don't think they have a problem being one-dimensional with the pass, but I do think they have a problem if Dylan Johnson is not a factor here in this game. Defensively for Washington, you need to be able to create pressure and win third downs. Make this offensive line pay for the times where they are spotty in pass protection. Get Quinn Ewers on the ground. Don't let this run game become a factor because Texas is a much stronger rushing team than Washington is. With all due respect to Dylan Johnson, Texas is just better at running the football. So if you can get Texas on the ground in the backfield early and often, going to provide good things here for the Washington Huskies. But the Husky defense, it just continues to find a way to win games, and I think it's why Washington wins this game. Now look, this game is going to be all fireworks. Unlike the last semifinal game that I just previewed between Alabama and Michigan, where it's going to be a grinded out. Teams are going to look to run the ball. It's going to be physical. This is going to be high flying. This is going to be fireworks. I think it's going to be 7-7 before we see 5 minutes go off the clock in that first quarter. I think both teams score in the mid to high 40s. But again, I think this Husky defense continues to find a way. I think Michael Penix and company continue to hit their shots downfield. They're going to attack this Texas secondary. And when the Washington defense is needed the most, they will step up, they will force the turnover, they will generate the big play, and Washington will head to the national championship game. Let me know what you guys think on this game in the comment section below. This is another 50-50 coin toss game. It's going to be really fun. But hey, as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. Rest of the bowl games I haven't previewed yet will come out tomorrow. And if you missed any one of my New Year's 6 bowl game predictions, go back and watch them. They're all up on the channel. Got them all up today. Should be an exciting college football playoff. Go check out my Michigan-Bama video. Again, play hard but tailgate harder. And I'll see all you guys in the next video. Goodbye.